Happy New Year for those I haven't seen in the new year. And happy Black History Month. It's Black History Month, and we know we're going to be moving. It's also Happy Chinese New Year as well. So we are excited to have you guys with us this afternoon, and we're going to provide a little teaser on some of the work that we're doing, going diving deep in this year. I want to thank all of those who joined us for our Faiths retreat. It was really exciting. We had a really great array of presenters and speakers who's doing innovation work in the affordable housing arena. So that's just a taste of kind of how deep we're going to go this year with really providing the resources that our community members need. And we know that without shelter, it's really hard to concentrate on anything in that, you know, that is just a human right for everyone to have safe, affordable shelter here in the Bay Area. So we're working on that. I want to thank Extraordinary Terry for being a great co-conspirator with keeping things moving during the pandemic, and all of you guys joining us every other week, and now we're moving to once a month, and we are hoping to get back to our quarterly sessions with Faith, but we feel we need to have more interaction during these times because things are changing so fast. So with that, I want to say welcome to everyone. We have a dynamic presenter with us this morning, and he's no stranger to faiths. He's been around the table for 20 plus years with faith, particularly during its infancy, and that is Daryl McMillan. For over 30 plus years, Daryl has been on the front lines of developing programs and services for low income youth and young adults. After his successful recovery and spiritual awakening from the pitfalls of Oakland and East Bay streets, Daryl became an outreach minister and drug recovery counselor at East Bay Teen. His work at the Alameda County Public Health Department led him to become one of San Francisco Bay Area's first founding directors of a fatherhood engagement and outreach program. Daryl has worked on innovative program service designs, fund development strategies, generating $10 million, founder of Choices Teen Male Sexual Health Outreach Initiative. He has also worked for the Mentoring Center in the East Bay area, high schools, and juvenile correction facilities. Daryl has also spearheaded the design and fund development of a social emotional learning model called 180 Degrees Program. He now builds capacity building skills of local faith and civic leaders, strengthening their programs and services community impact in the Bay Area. He is a devout husband of 27 years, kudos for that, and father of three career-oriented adult children with one grandson. And let me represent Daryl McMillan.
Unmute. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good day, rather. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, both Michelle, Terry, and everyone involved. I have an opening reflection to kind of center us and ground us, and I also have an introduction. That reflection, if I could get that screen up, I'm reading from the Complete Jewish Bible, and it's from a book of Habakkuk 2, verse 1 through 3. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to turn you immediately over to a guest I brought today, Pastor Derry Moten, from a local church in Vallejo. The name's not before me, in Vallejo. And I'm going to allow him to reflect on this opening, and then I'm going to bring Pastor Derry back up during my presentation to discuss this training modality called one-page business planning models. So having said that, let's bring that screen up. It states, I will stand at my watch post. I will station myself on the rampart. I will look to see what God will say through me and what I will answer when I am reproved. Then Adonai answered me and said, write down the vision clearly on tablets so that even a runner can read it. for the vision is meant for its appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it does not lie. It may take a while, but wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. And this scripture will lay the foundation for much of what we'll talk about a little bit later. But I'd like to introduce to you Pastor Derry Moten to share his reflections on this verse and why it's so important to the work of building capacity of local community leaders for the work that we're endeavoring to do to make our society better. Pastor Derry.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Daryl, and blessings to all. Very simple reflection here. This passage really speaks to us about the season that we're in. There are extreme amount of voices that are in our world right now. And with that extreme amount of voices, there's also high levels of emotion, high levels of feeling that we have regarding political issues, regarding social issues, the impact of COVID, the impacts of the death of George Floyd at the hands of the police. All the factors that go into those things have a lot of emotion, a lot of high thoughts. But this speaks to us in that there's a season where we need to actually stand on our own watch post and actually listen for God's answers to things. And there's a high degree of temptation to not pay attention to that step, to respond quickly. But this marks that we should be looking at how do we slow ourselves down? How do we actually get to the point where we will sit down, listen for God's voice, and then document what God says as he reveals to us the strategy, the divine strategy that he has for our world, for us individually, and for the enterprises that he has us doing under his vision and his guidance. As we talk today, one of the things we'll be looking at is how do we bring clarity to God's voice in the middle of a noisy world, especially when it comes to being leaders in community. How do we actually pose ourselves and position ourselves? How do we use a methodology to slow ourselves down, to actually gain the clarity that we need so that we can be as effective as possible to move forward? And so I'm going to leave that right there. And again, as Daryl mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about this. But the thought for right now is slowing down in order to build clarity. So I'll turn this back over to Daryl.
Thank you, Pastor Derry. And let me state that in the interest of interfaith, I do realize that not everyone present perhaps in the group, and I know not everyone in the faith movement may be from the Abrahamic line. There could be some that are Buddhist, Muslim, or other faiths, or even spiritual, without necessarily the same beliefs as those that are Protestant. So perhaps for many of us, it's an issue of grounding and centering and kind of having a sense of peace about where we're going with our vision, slowing down, as Pastor was mentioning, enough to get clarity for our direction in life and what we're going to endeavor to do. So let's start with a discussion. I have a page for the discussion. Is that up, Terry? Let me get to the screen share.
Yes, it's up.
Okay.
Can you all see that screen?
Yep.
Great, thank you.
And what this simply speaks to is, and I'll just read it. It's a reflection from Rodney Campbell, The Long and Winding Road. Before I even set foot on the island, I had this vision in my mind of an image looking down on a long and winding road, heading off into the distance. So when driving about the island, I would often, much to my family's distress, slow down and look, and even at times stop and take some shots in the hope that maybe I would get the source material for a shot. There were many stretches of road which had promise at various places on the island. I was looking for the perfect set of conditions with nice, low green bushland to the side of the road and a nice dark black winding road with the pencil white center line. I know I don't ask for much. The reason I was reflecting before today about winding roads, I know all of us take journeys and we all take travels different places. I recall when my adult children were young, we would drive to the beach. I think it was either Muir Beach or some beach, and the road is so windy, and everyone would say, slow down, all the curves. But, you know, those of us that are driving someplace, we might know the path. Or if you want to consider this from a matter of faith, we believe that our God knows our path. Or from the perspective of a mentor-mentee relationship, our mentors often know where we're going before we go there. They might know the curves and the turns that are coming up. I don't know if anyone would respond, but if you reflect on the drive back down the Grapevine, anyone ever drove down the Grapevine coming back from LA? I remember my big mistake of driving straight ahead. I don't know if anyone's just driven straight ahead. The road looks like you just keep driving straight. And about 20 miles later, I soon learned I was on Highway 99. I was no longer on Highway 5. And that's because there's a turn you're supposed to make. And my first time with this mistake, we were so far away from that turn that we had to drive across the valley. And I think it was 156 or 152. We had to cut across. And I think that's the importance of having a sense of direction that doesn't just come from our own forethought, but from those that are guiding us, those that are giving us wisdom and insight. That winding road, if you saw it from above, you know exactly where you're going to go. But when you're driving down that road, all you see is the curve in front of you. You know where you want to get, you know where you are, but you have no idea what curves are coming up. And I think that's part of the importance of planning, thoughtfully mapping out where you want to be, how you're going to get there. Let's have the next screen. So, and by the way, before we do, is there any discussions on that? Anybody have any reflections? And feel free to chime in if there's any reflections on those winding roads that we sometimes run into. All right. So, how faith-based organizations can find focus with one-page business plan. So, just to give you a little background, the last FAITHS training, we were speaking about the community organizations. It looks like we've got a, is there a chat? No. We were speaking about the need for building a capacity building process for the community organizations. And so one of the things that we found when we reviewed the grants was that there was a need for clarity of vision, clarity of mission, clearer objectives, clearer tasks and timelines, because it's hard for grant reviewers, and I'm sure the foundations, to know that their grantees are achieving their objectives if they can't read through their proposals and see a clear picture of where the grantee is going. And so for many of the grantees, they may know in their heart where they want to go, but if you can't articulate that in a succinct, clear fashion, it makes it difficult not only for the readers of the grant to support you, but even your own team members. It's like sending someone on a ride and they don't know the way and they can get lost very easily. So right after that last training, I was introduced to a process on Saturdays that I joined about 3 weeks ago. And I was able to meet Pastor Derry and his congregation in Vallejo. And he enfolded me into this training process, and they're using this software called OnePage. One-page business plans and business models, which we'll talk about today, is a really simple process of articulating your vision, your mission, your objectives, your strategies, and then your tasks and timelines. And it was a godsend because we had just articulated the need for this. And then in less than 2 weeks, we found a process, a curriculum, and a mentoring process, which is more important than the curriculum, that allows participants to share in dyads and triads what their project is about, how they're building their vision, how they're retooling their mission, and how they can support each other like iron sharpens iron in the building of their vision and the direction for their organization. So this brings up a question. Let's lead to the next slide. Why do we plan? Why do we plan? And I'd like to open this up for feedback from the audience. Why do we plan? Feel free to chime in.
Well, the old saying, that is, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, and then plan your work, and then work your plan. So planning will give you a much broader opportunity of being successful, because otherwise, if you don't know where you're going, anywhere will get you there.
Right. Thank you for that reflection on that. Any other thoughts on why we plan?
I think that a plan is like a GPS. It helps you get to your destination. And without planning, you are lost and you're just kind of meandering and doing all sorts of random things because you didn't plan.
It can kind of be like attempting to commit to tasks, but you don't have a map for what those tasks are. You don't even know where they're headed. Good reflection. Anyone else?
I think planning helps the team understand where the organization is headed, or if the organization has a visionary leader, that they can bring everyone on board so we can work together. Sometimes the plan is in one person's head, but not everyone understands it. So it helps everyone to contribute to their maximum ability.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Alicia, and the previous speaker. I also see some posts. I see from point to A to B from Reverend RR, Reverend Baines. GPS analogy, getting from to your destinations, planning gives project direction. So thank you to all your feedback on that. Change in behavior, achieving a purpose. Those are two of the noted reasons why under the question on the sheets. Let's go to the next sheet. So growth is complex. For many of our programs and organizations, many of them might be starting in their infancy. It might be an idea. It might just be an initial vision. For many of the applicants in the grant process for the FAITHS initiative, FAITHS program applicants, we noted that they were large organizations that had an overarching vision, but they were simply a project of that organization. So they were working within an existing vision, an existing mission, but I don't think that takes away from the need for that specific project to articulate their own project vision, their own project mission, so that they can more clearly articulate in the grant requests to various foundations and to their team members where they want to go. So this kind of speaks of the growing process of that. So what is the one-page planning methodology? This is where I want to bring in my experience I've been having the last several weeks with Pastor Derry Moten and his congregation. It's more than just a book, and there is a book on this that we plan on sharing with the grantees, the one-page planning business model, but for nonprofits. But it's the relationships. I have a partner in my planning process, Minister Carl Foster. He invited me to the group. He's a member of Pastor Derry Moten's church, but he's my kind of my partner in development. I'm calling him, he's emailing me. We're encouraging each other as we shape our own strategies and visions for the future. And it actually helps. So it's beyond just a process and a book. It's actually a relationship process to build and strengthen our organizations and our processes. And so with that being said, I'd like to allow Pastor Derry Moten to also offer any comments and thoughts regarding the process, not just the book or the process of developing a one-page, but actually the whole relationship process that goes into strengthening capacity.
Yes, the process that Daryl is going through with us, we designed as a life group in our church. And we invited people who were entrepreneurs or current business owners or aspiring people to join in, to have dialogue about building clarity. And as Daryl mentioned, the main focus is understanding that we are designed for partnership. But many times when we get vision, we can become individually focused. So our whole goal behind this was to, again, build connection points between people with similar visions, to be able to cultivate their walk through the process, and to have some levels of accountability. We gave people some very basic agreements that we were making that focused on how you're going to be accountable, how you're actually going to encourage, how you're actually going to go through the process and complete the process and let the process fully work. So as we're going through this, looking at the known necessity of planning, but taking that understood necessity and actually framing it into a window of time where we know that we're working towards building a level of clarity for a vision so that anyone could run with it, which gets us back to the original sharing of reflection, writing it down, making it as clear as possible, documenting it so that anyone could run. And many of us have volunteers who are part of our organizations, and being able to provide a volunteer something that gives them a clear picture of what we're doing, how we're working, what our strategies are, is extremely helpful to bring people into alignment, because alignment is the key to success for any endeavor that we have. So that was our main focus with, again, what Daryl's experiencing with us. And I'll, again, give that back to Daryl.
So having said that, thank you, Pastor Derek. Let's go to our next slide on methodology. I just want to open up by now sharing with you what is this planning process. So the methodology is really simple. It's facilitated coaching through 5 simple planning questions. And the next slide articulates those planning questions. And I think this will come into greater focus as we discuss these 5 planning questions. And those questions on the next slide are, what are we building? What are we building is the articulation of vision. So if we have a vision for a project, how can we share that vision with those that we are soliciting funds from, those that work on our teams, those that are our peers? How can we articulate a vision in a succinct way where we can just spell out exactly where we want to go, whether it's funding goals, whether it's number of populations served, whether it's design of the program, whether it's the overall overarching vision and goals, the end goal of the project. That vision is a statement that should be able to clearly articulate where we want to go, how we're going to get there, when we're going to be there, and other benchmarks in that vision statement. That's what are we building. That then often determines the next question, which is, why does this business exist? And many people speak of the fact that mission statements should not be books and books and pages, but one clear, succinct statement. So the vision statement, as is written here, this is for the My Senior Center as an example. Nurturing aging with independence, dignity, and grace. A real simple statement of mission for that organization. We will get to their vision on a slide coming up. So the next question is, what will we measure? This was an important finding as we were reading through the grant proposals with the grantees. How do we help them measure, not only measure the populations they intend to serve, but how do we help them articulate their measurements? How do you determine your benchmarks? How many people will you serve based upon what was your vision and what was your mission? So, shaping what you plan to do, when you plan to do it, and how many you plan to see versus a haphazard, we will serve 20,000 people this year, but you haven't even articulated why you're serving 20,000, or will you actually be able to reach 20,000 people? So what will we measure and how will we measure it? The next question, and so that's objectives. Then we have strategies. How will we grow and improve? Investing, they have a number of them listed here on the screenshot, and I believe each of you will get this screenshot if you get a chance to read the small print of each of the pages. Terry, will everyone get a chance to get these screens, I guess, at one point? Great. So each of you can read it in greater detail. And then finally, what is the work that we endeavor to have done? This one, for example, for that same senior center, develop a 3-year financial performance projection. Identify high impact activity, low impact activity. Conduct a Let's Chat employee session. And then finally, continue personal development efforts with the executive leadership team. So those are the 5 key planning questions. And the process of getting there with each of our grantees in our upcoming trainings, which we'll talk about the dates of them, is how we plan on helping them build that vision, build that mission, articulate their objectives, map out their timelines and tasks, develop strategies, and then finally, reporting capabilities so that they can more effectively report not only to the San Francisco Foundation, but better position themselves for other grants that they plan to solicit from other foundations, which is really what this is about, helping clarify their vision, clarify their mission, and be in a fundable position for San Francisco Foundation and other grant organizations. Any questions thus far on this page? We have a few more slides to go through, but I want to stop for any questions on this. I see Terry mentioned vision articulates specific goals and how to get there. Yes, exactly. And I think this is why having clarity of vision at the onset is so important, because that clear vision helps you identify what are the goals and tasks you're going to flow from that vision. You can also post your questions in the group chat if you don't want to speak them out loud. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So I want to discuss the templates. What you see on that previous page with those written responses to their one page, which is really what this is about. It's a one-page planning process to get your thoughts down to a one-page system. It actually comes from templates that are fillable. And so the guided templates mentioned, it's not cheating, but it makes getting started easier. It makes it a really interesting process of starting the writing, the articulation of vision, and the clarity of your thoughts down to paper. So you don't have to figure out, how am I going to start writing this? You actually have a system to put that writing down. So the one-page book, as well as the software that comes with it, is what will be provided to the grantees to help them shape that. That vision statement I mentioned from that organization, I'd like to read it here. This is the example vision statement for the My Senior Center, if we can open to that page. By June 2021, we will grow My Senior Center into a successfully run 501c3 social enterprise organization with annual revenue of $14 million. We provide transportation, nutrition, social connection, and affordable housing for older adults and individuals with disabilities. We will be the first Medicaring community center in California, providing the PACE model of integrated services combined with 54 units of senior housing. So in one succinct statement, this organization, the My Senior Center, has been able to articulate what they plan to do by June 2021, how much funds they plan to raise, that they're going to strengthen their organization, all the facets of their organization, and their focus on housing with a specific goal of 54 units of housing. This is the level of specificity we hope to build all the participants in the training process. So on this next page, the one-page business plan, as you can see, vision, mission, and strategies are articulated very clearly in the model. And this is from both an online portal as well as pages that can be filled, but there are PDFs to fill it in. And then objectives, action plans, strategies, tactical for this year only. The vision, the mission, and the longer term strategies are more long range and multi-year. You see the blue arrows, and the more objectives and action planning is more the center and the bottom. And that's for this year only. What are we doing now? And of course, those objectives and those action plans flow from the strategic long-range multi-year vision. This is the process and the level of clarity we hope to help each of the grantees and anyone else, by the way, who participates. And I believe Michelle and Terry, this is going to be open to non-grantees as well. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that's the strategic and tactical aspects of it so far as what we're doing and how we're getting there. Is there any questions at this point? I want to make sure we open them up in case anyone has questions about this planning process and the relationship between participants and how we'll have dyads and triads where participants are working through clarity of vision, clarity of mission, clarity of tasks and objectives. And feel free to put them in either the chat screen or you can unmute yourself if you have questions on this page. Okay, we have one. Oh. All right, Linda's asking about the dyads and triads. Let me share that, Linda. What basically happens is through the facilitation process, there comes points where there is tasks for individuals to write or to work on, and then we'll do a breakout within Zoom, and Terry's going to help us with that leadership, where we'll break out into small groups and participants can then share their vision and mission, because with 40, 50, 60 people, we can't do it because the whole meeting will go by. But in dyads and triads, you can spend 10 minutes and 2 or 3 individuals have shared their efforts on the vision section. Then we come back and work on mission. Then we come back and work on objectives, tasks, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what's meant by the dyads and triads. Any additional questions? All right, we'll continue.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So in addition to having the mission, vision, and strategies, objectives, and action plans as an outcome of that workshop that we'll be doing, the training workshop, how will this help us get to a final grant or report structure?
That's a great question. One of the things that we found reviewing the initial grants at the onset was to help the grantees gain a greater level of clarity, first for themselves and for their teams, so that they can not only know and have a higher likelihood of achieving their goals, but then they can report those revised numbers, those revised focused missions, objectives, and tasks for their organization in a way where they now have a higher likelihood of fulfilling that, and therefore that can then lead into their report writing at the end. So one of the things we talked about, Terry, was hosting these trainings. By the way, they are going to be the second Thursdays from 9 a.m. till 12 noon of March, April, May, and June. March, April, May, and June. We envision the first 2 sessions, along with follow-up support between the sessions, being focused on clarity of vision, clarity of mission, objectives, tasks, strategies, timelines. And thereafter, I would think at least the May or June session, or perhaps both, I'd like to incorporate and of course debrief with Terry and Michelle and Terry, the requirements you have at the San Francisco Foundation, so that we can train specifically on taking these renewed visions, missions, and then articulating them in ways where the grantees can have a clearer strategy on reporting outcomes. So I would think the May and June trainings is where we can begin incorporating reporting requirements before the end of the June last meeting. Does that clear up that answer somewhat, Terry?
Yes, it's great. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions on this process? And by the way, this is, again, as I mentioned, it's a book called the One-Page Business Model Nonprofit Edition. The grantees will each receive a copy. And I want to say thanks to Pastor Derry Moten, because he's additionally given me 12 copies for those that are not grantees. So if any of you would like to participate and you'd like a copy of the book, I have 2 of them set aside already, but I have 10 of them available for those of you that are not grantees. And if you give me your name, I will mail you a copy. It's yours. All right, next screen, please. So the process, and this is very true, I'm already learning this, having just participated for 3 weeks in this process. The one-page business plan doesn't really get good until you've edited over and over, and it's a living document. It is meant to be changed as you go and to refine it and to modify it as you go. On this note, Pastor Derry Moten, I'll be helping with this and building capacity of those grantees and providing that coaching and that assistance. But I actually am also getting coached from Pastor Derry Moten. And I wanted to allow him to please share, Pastor, your experiences as a certified trainer of this process on that revision process, that redevelopment process of ongoing living visions and living missions for the organization.
Yes, I am a bivocational pastor, and my background is both in organizational development and in ministry. So I work in helping organizations build strategic plans. So that's kind of something that's part of my ongoing work. And one of the things that, as Daryl mentioned, is the key to this is the refining and the accountability. The that combination of things works very well, and requiring people to simplify. You know, the most significant part of this process is refining to clarity. And again, many times when we are passionate about our work, we possess maybe more details than most people need to know. And so our instinct is to write more and more and more, and to continue to write. This process requires you to refine and to break your ideas down so that no matter who walks up, you can clearly articulate it. And it actually also builds you to a point where this single document can be replicated for team members. That if you have team members that are working on certain aspects or parts of the business, you can always have them create a one page with what their work plan is, with what their strategies are. And the upscaling of most people's thinking to think strategically is an immediate benefit that begins to happen, because it starts to make people ask the question, why do I do what I do? What do I hope to accomplish by my efforts? And so the immediate benefit that we've seen in this process has been from that. So when I've used this professionally with for-profit and other nonprofit organizations, the feedback that we usually get is just that. It's the issue of the power of clarity, and breaking things down to their simplest form, which frees people to clearly execute. Because this term we've been using kind of with our entrepreneurs in our ministry has been, there's no such thing as $1 million ideas. There's only $1 million execution. And you can have great ideas, but if you cannot execute on an idea, then the idea does not reach its potential. So the only way to get to execution is to build clarity. And so the process really is designed to do that, to work people through, to ask the right questions, to get down to the point of execution, because in execution is where we get the results that we're actually after. And as everyone mentioned a bit earlier, the key to why we plan is we plan so that we can actually get results. We're always after results. We're after the accomplishment of something, the benefit of people that we're serving, the well-being of communities. Those are things that we're after. And so the push to get to that level requires that especially the visionary has to be able to articulate the vision to other people through this process. So we're excited because, again, we've seen this work many, many times with people, and we've also seen it also get some people liberated from ideas. Sometimes people have locked in ideas, and once they had to write the idea down, they discovered that it's an idea, but it's not for me. So it not only helps you validate what you're doing, it can sometimes liberate you from things that you have been envisioning, but really aren't where you're trying to go. And so we look forward to being able to support Daryl as he's supporting all of you. And again, the great work that comes out of this is again, that's what we're all after. So.
Thank you, Pastor. You know, I think about reflecting on this. I think about the story of the person that went to go build a tower. And before he started building the tower, he didn't stop to count the cost of what it took to build the tower. So this process of planning really helps people stop for a moment. Like we talked about at the beginning, stop, meditate, process, envision, write it down, get it down the pen, so that before you go start building, you don't find out that you're out of material or your budget ran out and you got this half-built building that's not going to be habitable. And then the rain comes and now it's all torn down and rotted. You got to tear it down and start over again. It allows you to plan and think through building your vision before you ever start your vision. So having said that, I think this is perhaps, if not the last, one of the last slides. Are we about there? Questions. So yeah, we're back at questions again. Any thoughts or reflections on the process? Remember, we're talking about starting on March 11th from 9 till 12. And then the future dates are April 8th, May 13th, June 10th. And as time permits and as additional coaching requirements arise, I'm also planning some additional follow-up sessions between the monthly sessions where participants can have maybe brief check-ins to share with each other how they're working out their visions. Are they letting them lay stagnant? Are they moving forward to clarify their direction they're going in? And then, of course, very importantly, how are they doing with the commitments they made to the San Francisco Foundation so that they can offer an intelligent and clear, succinct response at the end of the cycle for their achievements. Last thought I'd have for you before we open it up is, as I was driving to my destination I'm at now, I was thinking about what do funders think when they receive grants from organizations? How do they respond to someone that they feel with all their heart is in the right place, but from what they sent me on paper, I don't understand any of it. I don't know where your roads are turning. I don't know where you're headed in the future. It almost, to me, makes sense to help grantees, even if they start small, to become responsible for their small effort, to be able to articulate their vision, articulate their mission, deliver on their outcomes, so that when they go to the next foundation, and I've heard this from foundation executives before, they talk to each other, they know each other. So if you get $20,000 from one foundation, but you failed in your efforts, you're going to the next foundation, they're going to eventually know that you don't pull it off. You didn't make it happen. So it's important that we help these folks during these infancy stages of building the program. And as Pastor Derry said, we're not talking about remaking a huge organization. We're just focusing on the project that is maybe a subset of an organization, if it's a large entity, but helping each of them shape their vision, shape their mission, and be prepared for making it happen in the community. Opening up for questions, we're done. I see we've got a few listed. I think Terry was reiterating the dates and the times.
We had a beautiful statement from Scott Quinn.
Okay.
This planning process provides clarity and criteria for our yes and no. What we say no to doing, no matter how urgent it seems, so that we can say yes to what is truly ours to do.
Well, amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Pastor Derry about that earlier this week. And I was telling them that, because Pastor Derry added an extra layer on this, folks. As a pastor responsible for his flock, he challenged all of us, before you pick up trying to shape your organization vision, your mission, your business, you need to first deal with the business of self, your relationships, your marriage, your house, your faith. And I told Pastor Derry, I said, Pastor Derry, this is some work. Since I started this process, I've literally had to map out objectives for me personally, objectives and relationships with my wife. Then I had to make an appointment with my wife to walk through that with her, get agreement. She's excited because she sees now we have a pathway forward between the two of us to have agreement. And now I don't have any issues with her agreeing with where I want to go with a vision in the future, because I've shared it with her. It's been a part of our meeting time. It's so important. And I shared that with Pastor Derry, and Pastor Derry, what did you tell me? That's why you make your yeses yes and you make your no's no. Helps out with that. So yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry if you covered it and I didn't catch it. So the last part of the last, I'm Jessica, by the way, and thank you for your presentation.
Hi, Jessica.
So part of the last piece of this, you were talking about, you know, applying to foundations and then applying to other foundations and how they talk, and, you know, you have a reputation. But did you speak about reports, like progress reports, final reports, and how important those are?
Briefly, but only in the context that this training process will help the grantees clarify what it is they endeavor to do And therefore, when we get to session 3 and 4 in May and June, they will then be better positioned to articulate and to strategize how they will do their end of the year reports each year to the San Francisco Foundation. And so literally this process should help them be better positioned, not only with effective reporting to San Francisco Foundation, but positioning them for other foundations. So that brief part we did cover.
Oh, thank you.
Any additional thoughts or questions about the process? May I remind everyone that I have 10 copies available outside of the grantees. So make sure that you've left me your name, your contact information, or get it to Terry, and I'll make sure we mail each of you that plan on being a part of the 4 processes that we're going to go through. This is only for those that are going to participate, that we'll send you a copy of the book to support you. Okay, with that being said, I think we're done. We have one
Michelle,
closing reflection at the end, but we'll share that when you're ready.
Yep, Michelle, do you want to speak up and say what you wrote in chat? You're muted.
Oh, that I thought it was going to be different in 2021, that I was not going to be muted all the time. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So thank you, Daryl and Pastor Moulton. And I really hope that what Daryl gave us a teaser of and Pastor Moulton is enough to tickle your fancy to be able to sign up for the sessions, and we'll be rolling that particular process out. But, you know, we are here to do things differently this year and really to be responsive to our faith leaders and be able to build up the capacity so that, you know, you all will be able to continue to be competitive and be able to be around throughout any type of situation that happens. So thank you, thank you, thank you. What we're going to do right now really quick is do our introductions and shout outs, and everybody has 30 seconds, but I think it's going to have to be quicker than that. So we want everyone to state your name, your organization, the city or region that you serve, and you can give a shout out to yourself or your organization or someone in your organization. So let's start. And once you shout out, pass it on to someone else. I'm passing on to Will.
Say that again one more time, Michelle.
Your name, organization, city or region served, and you can shout out to yourself or your organization on, you know, something fabulous that's been happening.
Okay. Will McGarvey, Executive Director of the Interfaith Council of Contra Costa County. We did an interfaith food insecurity roundtable on January 3rd, and last night we did our first training, encouraging folks to think about how they're going to return to their food ministries in a safe way. And next month we're having a follow-up on how to encourage use of by our congregations in distributing and helping people connect with the pandemic EBT. So food insecurity is big right now for us. And we're in Contra Costa County, Northeast Bay.
Pass it on to someone else, Will.
Linda Liu, would you please go?
I was just about to ping you, Will. Nice to meet you here on the Zoom. I work at Project Peace, East Bay. We serve the greater East Bay. Our headquarters are in Oakland, and we activate a network of churches to come alongside local community partners in the pursuit of social justice and biblical justice. What's really exciting for us right now is we pivoted really quick when COVID first hit. So we changed all of our in-person mobilization exercises to digital, and it's really paid off. So we're going to further expand that program leading up in the Lenten into Easter season for folks to get out if they feel safe, for in-person, also remote opportunities. So I'll probably be reaching out to you to see how we can amplify your activities or get the message out in Contra Costa as well.
Pass it on, Linda, and we got to speed it up, you guys.
Oh, sorry, too much. Sabrina.
You're muted, Sabrina.
Sabrina Saunders, One Accord Project, doing a lot of work with the African American community around COVID-19. We are now starting to work on encouraging the use of the vaccine, and we'll be partnering with the county to do some mobile vaccines at churches in the near future. And I'm excited about what we're doing, and we're on our 11th meeting coming February 26th. And
Pass it on,
I
Sabrina.
would like to pass it on to Wilma Baptiste.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wilma Baptiste from Neighborhood Baptist Church in San Francisco, a part of the San Francisco Interfaith Council and UCSF Abundant Life Health Ministry, where we assist churches in 6 of the 9 Greater Bay Area counties. Wonderful program. Thank you so much, Pastor Moulton and Mr. Macmillan. Awesome. And since I don't see anybody, whoever's under me, go next. I can't see your face.
Pass it on to Reverend Ramos.
Hi everyone, amazing training. Thank you very, very, very much. I'm the pastor of Ministerio Latino and Open and Affirming Spanish-speaking congregation in Oakland, California. We do all kind of justice work. And this Saturday, we're going to have an entrepreneurial training in Spanish, because many people are still lacking jobs, but they have ideas about business creation. And so we want to give them that little push. And it's going to be something similar to this, planning, putting steps in action, putting an action plan. And so, and the shout out is to Ministerio Latino being having its 10th anniversary this year. And also I'm getting my first shot of the vaccine tomorrow, so I'm very excited. Next is Scott Quinn.
Thank you. My name is Scott Quinn. I'm with the Marin Interfaith Council, so here in San Rafael in Marin County. One of the things we've set up is a special fund for low-income immigrant mothers, mostly undocumented families who are either pregnant or just have given birth but are on the verge of homelessness because of lost family income during COVID. So we have a special fund providing direct payments to those families. Pastor Paul.
Pastor Baines, you're muted. Okay, we'll go to the next person. I'll just give on a call out to Susan. Susan, you're muted.
Sorry. Suzanne Martin, Hope Solutions, formerly Contra Costa Interfaith Housing. We are busy preparing for our virtual gala on February 27th, Ruby Slippers, There's No Place Like Home. So if you're interested in attending, go to hopesolutions.org/Ruby Slippers. Hope to see you there. And I'm going to call Jessica.
I'd never be called. Hi, this is Jessica. I'm at the Jewish Community Relations Council based in San Francisco, but I'm sitting here in Oakland. And I want to share, and I just put it in the chat, that we're having our 25th annual Multi-Faith Freedom Passover Seder, March 16th at 6 p.m. So save the date, and I will make sure that that this council gets the invitation as soon as we have it all put together. I'm working on it currently, and we'll have civic and faith leaders from all faiths as speakers. It's a great event if you've never been there, so I hope you join us. Thank you. And I don't know if there's anyone else to pass to. Oh, Derry, did you want to check in? Or Daryl? Don't know.
We're going to go a closing reflection at the end.
Yeah, I unfortunately have to leave. I have a 1 o'clock appointment that I have to get to. So thank you for all doing the work that you're all doing. It's exciting to hear, and blessings to you guys in the future.
Thank you, Pastor Derek.
I guess, Alicia, did you go? All right. Well, I'll say that we have our event will be February 14th, and Michelle has the flyer. It's the grand opening of our 2 model homes where we're going to house 2 unhoused families in there. And it's prelude to what we're going to be producing for hopefully the entire Bay Area. We establish our factory in East Palo Alto to produce modular housing. So February 14th, Valentine's Day at 2 o'clock will be a virtual ribbon cutting.
Okay, great. I think that's everyone. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the closing slide and let Daryl close it out for us.
All right. So this closing reflection comes from my very favorite story in the book that I study, at least, Nehemiah, rebuilding the walls. But this particular text relates to the planning process before any building took place. It reads, I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me or horses, except the one I was riding on, Nehemiah 2:11-12. And this reflection simply speaks to stopping before endeavoring to build, but perhaps after your heart has been inspired with a vision. Before you go building with this vision, stop. Research, reconnaissance, map it out. Take a look at what you need to build before you start building it, so that you can make sure before you start putting the word out everywhere that you've planned out from start to finish what you have in mind. That's what this text reflects on. So I encourage all of us to keep that spirit in mind as we move forward.
Thank you all. We went over a little bit. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties. We're hoping one day to not have to deal with that. And remember that we are here to support you guys in any way. So please, one thing, send us all of your announcements that's happening so we can place them in our newsletter. Our newsletter comes out once a month now. And so please just send all of your announcements into us, and we'll get them in the newsletter. It will be going out early next week. So all of the announcements from today will be there. And again, have a well week and blessed day. If you all are going to try to reach us tomorrow, the office is closed tomorrow, so you will get a response on Monday. But be well and continue to thrive and be there for our community members. Thank you.